a few years ago, in the midst of the early Pumpkin Tits era, and a few weeks after the Charlottesville Nazi rally, a, Delia Lithwick and a friend of hers, a former Slate colleague, Jennifer Mendelson, gifted Delia a silver disc on the back cord that said "Merely Resist," like a black cord, basically like a wrist bracelet that said "Merely Resist." It's been on my wrist ever since. That's what the person said. Basically, they paid it forward, sending one to a friend named Jennifer Taub with the same inscription. Sorry. This past week, um, Mendelson tweeted that the person who had sent her hers had surprised her with a new bracelet that said "Heal," and she wrote to ask. She wrote to, and so basically, Mendelson wrote to Dahlia and asked what would her new word would be. But I wouldn't use the word heal. Basically, 4 weeks after an election that has become a joke or a nightmare, depending on how the fuck you want to look at it, I don't really feel healed. Really, I don't feel much of anything. Basically, I would say stasis. And then stuckness eventually in an attempt to find something that could pass maybe as a feeling. Basically, the word has becalmed. Becalmed is a word that's been twisted around in the 4 weeks since the election. I don't feel calm so much as stuck out in the middle of a glassy sea, unmoving for a lack of wind, drifting around waiting for the next thing. But to be sure, becalmed is vastly preferable to being upended by crashing waves and squalling tempests. But it's not motion, and it is not volatational. The thing that is meant to be over won't leave, and so instead of moving forward, we are forced to stay here. Open calls for martial law. Sure plans to disrupt the electoral count are floated. Deranged speech about throwing out votes. Why not? Out of the corners of my eyes, I can see the White House super spreader Christmas events and clock the ranting and huffing of the almost former commander in chief as he spreads chaos and doubt on his way out of office. It's just another another money making adventure. But holy hell, the cost to a functional future democracy is fucking high. I can't start thinking about healing because we are still at the mercy of this guy who just won't fucking leave. It doesn't matter if it's meant to be a joke or lavish the slow release trolling. It's frightening to sit in this calm after the storm and imagine what the next storm will be. Maybe it's what Pumpkin Tits will do with his followers after he leaves office, or maybe it's what the sane Republicans will do even after Pumpkin Tits is gone. We don't know yet, but we don't know yet what will happen. All that we can see is that if this divisive election couldn't bring relief, what will? Becalmed is basically better than waking up at T3 at basically 2 or 3 in the morning, um, with your jaw locked and your fist balled up, which is how I have lived the past 4 years. Becalmed is better than besieged or betrayed or beleaguered, but certainly it is not active, energized, vindicated, or purposeful. It is not as good as waking up every morning with the certainty that you are the change you seek in the world, and yet already having witnessed no healing, no remorse, and no adverse consequences to those who committed any and all atrocities. We are being scolded that is now time to heal and move forward. But it is also time to comfort the comfortable and put aside inflammatory words, even though they fairly accurately describe what has basically taken place. In a few weeks' time, when the last penny and political concession are squeezed out of the last true Pumpkin Tits enthusiasts, and several thousand more have died silently and pointlessly from a pandemic that was never addressed, Republican leadership will largely admit that we knew it months ago that Joe Biden in fact won the election. Until then, we wait. There are one gathers still lingering lawsuits, but Pumpkin Tits has called back in transition in favor of a bonus period in which to loot and destroy, and there appears to be no mechanism, legal or political means to stop him. It feels pointless to fight and organize and resist that which is already defeated, but part of the problem is that we are recognizing as we sit here installed that we are mirrored in the sinkhole of a distortion and disarray that will outlive him, and we haven't yet mustered a resistance to that. And there is a fresh sadness to the way that Pumpkin Tit's actions since the election have solidified the reality that there is no, normal, to which um, and basically there's no normal to which to revert, and no path back forward compromise, because the problem was never just pumpkin tits, even a pumpkin tit who declines to leave. The problem was a party and a country that backed him, and we still have one each of those. Um, Even when he is out of the door. In the meantime, we sit on the still waters and wait to see if something worse is on the horizon, and perhaps even enjoy the relative peace of this momentary motionlessness. And while the elections officials are threatened with deuces, and we are waiting for the next thing, even if the most we can call the next thing is not hit this. And be calmed is that sense that you are going to end up somewhere, but without any sense of where you are headed. It is perhaps a fitting state of being during holidays and lockdown, waiting for vaccines, and with profound gratitude that for all the division and strife, nobody is in fact out in the streets murdering one another. Everyone appears to be in an agreement that whatever the strange floaty period is, it's still eminently preferable to civil war. And I'm going to cut off basically. Jelly is going to cut off her resist bracelet, and whatever this movement or moment of campaign is, it's not all clear that resistance is what's warranted, and what is demanded is either not yet known or not yet invented. But if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Rambin Mike, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.